We love decorating for the change of seasons, so what better way to bring autumn into your home than with a home-sewn table runner and placemat set? We've even included a free printable applique pattern to work from. The best part is, it's easy enough to get the kids involved. This is the perfect way to get festive this Thanksgiving by celebrating with some new home decor. Click on the link in the description box for the free printable PDF pattern. We'll be demonstrating with the placemat pattern, but the same techniques will be used for the table runner. If you're sewing the placemats, you'll want to cut both the main and contrasting bottom fabric for each placemat to 17.5 inches by 13.5 inches. For the table runner, you'll want to cut the main and contrasting fabrics at 40.5 inches by 16.5 inches. We recommend choosing a cotton or linen blend fabric for this pattern. Our applique pieces will be cut from this Australian merino wool fabric designed by Sue Spargo. It has a high loft that will add a beautiful texture and contrast when appliqued, which will add a nice touch to the table. Print out and cut the applique pieces included in the downloadable pattern in the description box, or use your own applique pattern. We like to pin the pieces of the fabric and cut them out this way to avoid the extra step of tracing. Make sure you arrange the pieces at least 1 inch away from the edge of the fabric to account for the seam allowance. Arrange the wool pieces however you like on your placemat or table runner and pin them where you want them. You can now begin appliquing them down. To do so, we will be using this wool and acrylic blend thread called Allowance. This thread line is actually dyed to match the exact same colors from the wool fabric line, so that way we'll always have the right color to blend in perfectly with the fabric. You can choose to either hand applique the pieces down, or use a simple straight stitch to do it by machine. However, we'll be doing it by hand since we don't want the stitches to show. We'll be using a simple whip stitch to applique all of the pieces down. Because the thread blends in so well with the wool, you don't need to be too tidy or even with the stitching, and it will still look good. To begin your applique, tie an overhand knot at the end of your thread and pull it up behind the main fabric layer to hide the knot. When you've come all the way around and want to end the stitch, tie the knot and use the needle to pass it back under the knot before snipping it to keep it tidy. When all of your applique is stitched down, lay your main fabric and contrasting back fabric right sides together. Sewing on a 1/4 inch seam allowance starting a few inches away from one of the corners, backstitch and sew around to the other side and stop about 4 inches away from where you began. Don't forget to backstitch again at the end. With a pair of scissors, trim away the corners to make it easier for when you turn it inside out. Using the hole you left, turn the pieces inside out. Use a pair of blunt scissors or other long, narrow tool to push the corners out. The hole can either be hand-stitched with a fine thread to close it, but we'll be adding a decorative top stitch around the circumference of the placemat, which will sew it shut instead. For the decorative top stitch, we'll be using this thicker 12-weight cotton thread called Spaghetti. We like this thread because it's very low on lint, meaning it will reduce the lint buildup in your machine when you sew with it, and the stitches themselves will look clean. When sewing with a 12-weight thread, we recommend increasing your stitch length slightly and using a 90-14 or 116 top stitch needle. You can also use a 116 universal needle. You'll also want to use a finer bobbin thread, such as this 80 weight Deco Bob thread, which will significantly reduce tension problems when sewing with the thicker top thread. Start from the corner to hide your backstitch and sew all the way around on a 1/8 inch seam allowance. The thread will add a beautiful finish to the edges of your placemats and table runner and close the remaining hole at the same time. As simple as that, your table setting is complete. Make the whole set to bring autumn inspiration to your table this year. To shop the wool fabric and threads used in this video, don't forget to check out the link in our description box to purchase them online in your country. Let us know what autumn projects you're working on in the comments section, or ask us about any questions you might have if you're sewing this project yourself. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and click subscribe for more great sewing tips and tutorials. We'll see you again next time!